So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Who Talks First. I am Courtney.
And I am Solo Grayson.
And this week on the podcast, we did something a little bit different.
We did.
We had you guys vote. So if you follow at Knights of Rant on Twitter, you guys can partake in the voting process because we were deciding which podcast we wanted to record today.
Yes.
And it was super last minute. And today we are doing a podcast about the prequels.
Defense of the prequels.
Defense of the prequels, which sounds like just a Star Wars movie.
It does.
In itself.
We'll make it.
Yeah, so both of us are people who grew up in the prequel age. Like, our quote-unquote childhood was the prequels. We were not alive when the originals were coming out. So
absolutely not.
Therefore, all the fanboys who are yelling at me that I have no right to talk about Star Wars because I wasn't even alive.
And you're like, that's not how that works.
Like, no, I can still watch the movies.
I can still appreciate them. Absolutely.
Being a female theorist has resulted in many of those comments. Being like, you don't know that the movies are about the Skywalkers. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, I
just paid attention and realized that Kylo Ren is a Skywalker.
Right.
So, God. Anyway, sorry for alienating you, possibly. But if you're still around, we're going to talk about the prequels and why
they're not as bad as people say they are.
They're really not. I don't get why they get the hate people do. They were just as successful and, according to a lot of statistics, just as well liked. There's just the people who hate them.
They're just very loud.
The squeakiest wheels, so they get the grease.
Yeah.
And therefore, we never see any prequel merchandise, which
is a shame.
Peeves me off.
So it makes me so mad.
It's like the only character you get prequel merchandise of is Maul, and this is my daily talk about how I hate Darth Maul. Woo! But actually, Darth Maul in Phantom Menace is the one time I don't mind him.
I like him in Phantom Menace.
He's a good villain.
He looks cool. He is the Phantom Menace. He shows up and you're like, I'm scared. I'm spooked. Exactly.
It's such a good song.
And he's a good character. He just got shafted.
Yeah. He could have been really scary.
Because he fell down
the
shaft.
But he kept himself alive.
Shut up. We don't talk about that. Stop. No. We're talking about when he was good. He was still a good character.
No, he used the Force to pull himself to the side of the shaft and was like, who cares that I don't have any lower extremities? I'm going to live.
It's fine.
You got cut in half.
My race doesn't have anything important down there to keep me alive.
Oh.
We don't have intestines.
Nope. Just
or a stomach.
We just have
everything's
hate.
Everything's up here. It's okay that everything down there was nothing. Don't worry about it.
It's fine. Anyway, that's my dislike of Maul. So let's go back. So yeah, of course, I personally do think that the original movies are better, but like, I still really, really love the prequels. Revenge of the Sith is my second favorite of all the Star Wars movies.
Yes.
And I have mentioned this before, but just in case you're new, I do not put The Force Awakens into these lists.
Because it's not finished yet.
It's not done, because if you ask me who my favorite character is, I'm like, it could be Kylo, but also they could fuck him up.
They could Darth Maul him.
And I could hate him, so I don't want to ever say that he's my favorite character.
Right.
So, I mean, Obi-Wan, and I love Han Solo. I know you hate Han Solo.
I do hate Han Solo, but you're allowed to like him.
I love him.
He's just absolutely not my type of character.
He's my smug son of a gun.
Even just looking at his face over there on our wall, I'm like, ugh. Oh. You think you're hot shit. Ugh.
But he's such a goober. Like, when he, like, runs in there, and he's like, don't worry, I got this, and just runs into the room of stormtroopers, like, screaming.
Yeah.
And then when he's, like, in the prison...
And fails, and then he's like, I'm still cool. And I'm like, you're not cool!
I'm like, he's just such a goober. I love him. But, anyway, we'll talk about the prequels, I swear. That's what we're actually talking about. Attack of the Clones, I will not defend. That is the only Star Wars movie I will actively say that I don't like.
It's got shining little moments.
It does. It has my favorite. Quips. It has my favorite line.
Good job.
favorite. Good job.
We're here to save you, master.
Good job. That is probably my favorite line in all the prequels. It does run very close to my favorite line in A New Hope, which is Han Solo, when he's trying to distract the, like, stormtroopers who are calling over the comm in the prison cell, and he's just like, situation normal. How are you? Like, it just, like, how's everything going with you guys? It's fine.
It's
and then he
very
just
good line.
shoots the council and is like, it was a boring conversation anyway.
Yep.
So, that the Attack of the Clones does have my favorite good job line, and of course the classic line about the sand.
I was just saying, it has a lot of very quotable lines.
Yeah.
Don't like sand. It's rough. And it's coarse and it gets everywhere. Not like
You,
you,
Padme. You're not like sand. Is
Is it working? Are you falling for me? You must be. Because we're about to get married.
We're gonna have twins. And I'm also, like, I'm a huge sucker for prequel stories in general. Like, with Harry Potter, my favorite characters were the Marauders.
Oh.
Like, and I want to know more about them. And Sirius Black and Lupin were my two favorite Harry Potter characters. And I'm like, just because I love the concept of you, James, and Sirius, and Peter. Just being little
Doofs together.
dwarpy teens together. So I like seeing those stories and actually seeing them come to life, in which they did in the prequels.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will hate me, I actively think positively over the Phantom Menace. The only one, like I said, that is minus 50% for me is Attack of the Clones. Like, that one's just hard for me to get through. It's very political and
not even political in a good way, because I feel like...
Hayden has really bad hair.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan has slightly better hair, but it's not the best hair.
But it's still Jesus hair,
It is.
and then in Revenge of the Sith,
aces.
it's
Everyone
like
is
the
on
good balance.
point.
You're like, everybody is attractive in this movie,
Yeah.
and oh my god, I'm crying.
It's
Because why? Why would you do this, Anakin?
yeah.
You're
I guess
idiot.
Padme does get kind of shafted in Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, she does. but-
Padme's best movie is probably either Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
She gets a cool outfit in Attack of the Clones. I like her Geonosis outfit a lot before it gets all torn
Before it
up.
gets all sexy.
Before it becomes the Slave Leia outfit. Mm-hmm. But then that means Kylo Good's gonna get the Slave Leia outfit.
He better.
That's...
It's in his blood.
If I keep talking about it, that means Ryan Johnson, who obviously listens to our podcast.
Oh, obviously.
And so does Colin Trevow, who is doing 9. I'm probably pronouncing his last name hella wrong.
Well,
But
There
they
goes
both
the
listen to
section.
the podcast, and we
they're
know
active fans.
they're active fans. And they'll just like, we'll put it in.
Yeah.
We'll
They're like,
get a call.
oh, you're right. That's fair.
Kylo needs a Slave
Equality.
Leia outfit.
Equality.
Yep,
We're all about balancing this out. They're bringing balance to the Force, Courtney.
exactly. It just give me
It's only fair.
Kylo in a Bacta tank. We're
Just anything. Just
Good.
one little sexy scene, and you're like, okay, I forgive you for,
For Slave
sexy
Leia.
for Slave Leia and
oh, I'm sorry, Hutt Slayer Leia.
Hutt Slayer Leia.
Because I am more than okay with that term being used.
Yeah.
now. Way better. And just conveniently ripped Padme outfit.
yeah.
I mean, they're
Midriff Padme.
they're both ripped, man. They both have nice.
Oh man,
Nuts.
no, they are incredibly attractive women. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. But I'm
But-
like, this seems very unnecessary and takes me out of this scene. I mean, well, I understand like the hut
Yeah.
like scene. I get it.
That
and
one
they
at
did
least
a good job.
contextually makes a little more
Yeah,
sense.
in the movie, I'm not as mad at it because everybody's grossed out by it. It's the merchandise that makes me upset because I'm like, you guys are missing the point. It's not supposed to be sexy. It's supposed to be really demeaning and gross.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Han and Luke acted. Why aren't you acting like that?
Yeah. When they could have put, like, whenever they do Revenge of the Sith, not Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, like, toy sets, it's always Leia in that outfit.
And you're like, no, she's in that for like a hot second.
When she's in, like, her Endor outfits for most of the movie. And actually, her Endor outfits are some of my favorites.
They're cute.
They are cute, and they can give her a little Ewok, because
Yeah.
she's queen of the Ewoks.
It is cute.
But yeah, again, with Slave Leia, they can make a little more, I mean, contextually of the
Yeah.
scene, it makes a little more sense.
No, yeah, no. I don't hate it in the movie.
Padme's is
Again.
like, what are the odds that this beast just grazed your clothes and that's it? Like, they're...
She might get little boo-boos.
Does she have little boo-boos?
I think she might get little scratchies.
Okay.
I think.
Because I've definitely looked up the outfit. Because I want to make the intact version of it.
I might be wrong, but I feel like she might have little scratchies.
Oh, okay. If they have little scratchies, then...
But not... I feel like you would have gotten eviscerated.
Yes.
Not even...
No, she would be bleeding.
She would be, like, her intestines would be out.
That outfit is skin tight.
Yeah.
So it's not like a loose graphic tee like I'm wearing right now that you can't see.
Yeah.
Where it's maybe flying out and a beast grabs it and I'm like, oh, luckily got this flowy skin. She's wearing a
skin tight outfit. Yeah.
She's just so lucky.
It's...
I mean, she's just finding a guy like Anakin.
Oh, yeah.
The luckiest girl in the world.
Luckiest. She has a great relationship.
And
that's why Attack of the Clones is so bad, is because it's a, like, romance story, and the romance doesn't work.
No. And even, it's not even written to work, because Padme is like, dude, stop. The whole time until they're in Geonosis, and she's like, I guess this works.
When they have their little picnic.
Yeah.
And you're like, I guess. He made a pear float. That's kind of cool, I guess.
I would be into that.
If they had spent, like, if you're gonna make it a romance movie, obviously, at least write more romance scenes so we can see them liking each other. Because
there's, like, that scene in the field that they try, but I think that's even before Padme's like, dude, you gotta stop, man. Like, we can be buds, but you can't be in relationships. And...
I'm a busy woman.
I'm busy. I'm not that into you. Face it, have you seen
Obi-Wan? If I were to get together with a Jedi, it'd be that guy.
Have you seen Obi-Wan's face? But, we'll make it work. But again, that's like, I'm not sure if this is what's supposed to come across, but that's why I do like, at least they talk about these things in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
How, I don't want to use the word toxic, but I'm going to, how toxic Padme and Anakin's relationship is.
It is a toxic relationship.
It is,
though.
yeah.
For sure.
But I'm like, I don't want to use it if that's not what it is, like, intended.
Yeah.
It could just be written that way, but in Clone Wars, they talk about it, which Padme full-on addresses, which I'm glad she got her moment to
be like, I'm afraid of you.
I'm afraid of you. You're being a kind of a crazy person right now. This isn't a marriage. We're playing, like, house together. Yeah. This isn't we can't tell people we're married. This isn't a marriage.
Even with the brother and the sister. What arc is that? What's that arc called?
The Mortis arc?
Yeah, the Mortis arc. And the sister, the daughter is like, what you have isn't love.
Yes. She literally actually brings that up.
Your love is a cage, or something, right?
Something along those lines.
That, but she says, like, what you have isn't love.
Yeah, what you feel, that's not love. You've put her in a cage, kind of like, she says something along those lines. Which
translates to, you want to own Padme.
You think of her as more, I don't want to think of her as, like, he doesn't think of her as an object, but it's this idealized...
Yeah, he puts her on this huge pedestal.
Yeah. Which I actually... like, is a cool story arc in its own way, if that's what it was intended.
Yes.
Don't think it was, but I like approaching it that way, because then...
That's the only way you can approach it for it to make sense.
I agree.
Like, honestly, when I sit down and, like, think about how Padme and, like, Anakin get married, and you're like, it has to be, like, who approved this? It has to be, like, that it was in an unlike healthy relationship. And it was supposed to be more like all warning.
Mm-hmm.
And if they would have extrapolated on that more, it would have been better.
Yeah, and they
those are the
do
flaws
a couple times in Clone Wars. But, there's definitely the flaws, and especially in the love story.
Yes.
Which is by far my least favorite part. Actually, when I was younger, when I was younger, Revenge of the Sith was, like, the only of the prequels I had seen coming out. So I was, like... Of course, being the kind of person I am and ship what I ship, I'm like, I like problematic things. It's fine. I was like, this is like a tragic love story. But then when you actually see it, you're like, no, it's not.
No.
Like...
It's not.
It's you see the whole story in its entirety, and you're just like, oh, Anakin,
Oh, Anakin.
you're trying. But then you can't, like, approach it from the, you're seeing this kind of obsessive Anakin who doesn't really think of Padme as a separate person, but as this idealized...
Good force.
Yes.
Like, beautiful goddess. Like,
Exactly.
that's the only thing that I can, like... He kind of just reveres her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's not healthy.
I mean, he spent a good, from the ages of 9 to 17, however long they were apart, he even says, like, I thought about you every day. He's already just built up this idea of who Padme became, who she is, that she's just this perfect human being.
Yeah.
And therefore, when they have issues, Anakin doesn't handle it so well. He was like, no, in my mind, we've been together since I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah, what's your problem? Also, you're acting different. Because you're acting like a different person than I thought you were. I just thought you were this perfect person.
All the
what
time.
The heck?
And then, like, it explains more why Anakin has this downfall, because his relationship is a kind of a sham.
Yes.
I mean, I do think Padme loves Anakin, and I do think Anakin loves Padme to the amount that he's
capable of.
Or
knows how to.
Yeah.
Because, again, the Jedi don't teach you how to deal with your feelings well.
Mm-mm.
They're just like, just don't have those feelings.
It's
just push them away.
You push them away. It's like, and Obi-Wan will be like, like, they're only natural to have, but you can't do anything about it. So
yeah,
which can drive any person crazy.
Yeah.
So you can see that happening down the line.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get to see this, like, really, they don't handle it the best. You want to see more, but this sad story of how Anakin goes from being a slave to a slave to a slave.
To a slave, yep. Always a slave.
That he spends his whole life in some form of slavery, and you get to see that the Jedi Order is not that great.
No.
They're not.
The prequels expose, like, that maybe the Jedi aren't the ultimate good.
Or maybe that the ultimate good, what we thought it was, isn't the right thing.
Yes.
Because they're these holier-than-thou people who, again, you're not allowed to form attachments. There's all of these rules that later you look on, onto.
You're like, is this really a life?
It's not, and it drives a lot of people pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Which, again, come on, Prequel Trilogy, this is what I want. Because, like, the prequel, or did I say sequel trilogy? I don't know what I said. Words. Prequel Trilogy was like, you know what? The Jedi aren't that great at people. They created Anakin.
They created it. Yes.
They created Vader, I should say.
Yes.
They brought Anakin in. They were like, he's going to be a bad guy, so we don't want him part of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
They're setting themselves up for failure, and that's one of my favorite, tropes in Star Wars, like, themes, is that you create the villain that you think you see, so they created Anakin.
They absolutely did.
And that's a nice thing about his quote-unquote redemption in Return of the Jedi, is Luke saw the light in him, so, again, you create the hero or the villain that you think you see. If you have a hope in someone, if you believe in someone, they're more likely to see it in themselves. Well, if everyone's doubting you,
you're gonna doubt
yourself.
Yeah. If only the Jedi Council had put a little bit of faith in Anakin, I think that Vader would have never been created.
No.
Like, Obi-Wan tried, but he's one member of the council. When everyone else was also seemed to be against, like, I could say that Yoda was, he was a wishy-washy, like, sometimes he would be on Anakin's side, and other times he'd be, like,
Yeah.
But, like, Obi-Wan was always on Anakin's side, while it seemed like all of the rest of the council was always against Anakin.
Yeah. And, like, the one person who was super, like, I will make sure you are the chosen one, Qui-Gon, just dies.
Yeah,
so,
he was dead. And Mace Windu, I'm a firm believer is that he hated Anakin.
Oh, yeah. Both of you have the headcanon that Mace Windu always thought he would be the chosen one because of the purple lightsaber. And those are super, super rare. And again, we know the real reason why he had
they
the purple
wrote into
lightsaber.
canon that the reason he had it was because he was
a little more balanced with light and dark. So I think Mace thought of himself as a bit more special and thinks that he's the chosen one. So when Anakin comes along,
he's like, nah,
nah,
I'm the chosen one. Who do you think you are?
And that was me. I have a purple lightsaber.
I'm the one who's gonna bring balance to the Force, and I'm gonna do it by making sure that you don't screw anything up, kid.
And see, well, now Mace is Snoke, right?
Am I right?
No, Snoke is Snoke.
Snoke is Snoke.
Snoke is Snoke. I'll have a Snoke day
I'm gonna say Snope to that theory. Huh?
Oh, nope. And
Yeah,
okay, I was
yeah.
like, what the hell is a Snope? I don't
I
know.
was trying to make a pun, didn't really work.
Yeah.
But I tried.
But there's a lot of these things, I'm like, who knows if George Lucas intended, but I like them. One, in general, I'll add Clone Wars into this in general. I mean, we'll have one when we talk about Clone Wars in its entirety. Mm-hmm. But essentially, you're watching the war from the wrong side. Mm-hmm. You think that the Republic, they're the good guys. But are they really?
Yeah.
One, Dooku's far less of a crazy person.
Far.
I mean, he's still a Sith Lord, and he's still leading the Separatists. But let's talk a little bit about the Separatists. First and foremost, I mean, they're fighting with droids.
Yeah, they're fighting with droids, not people.
With fake
They're fighting
artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So, you can talk about, the clones, are they real people? But the Clone Wars, yeah, they are.
They are. They make a point of making you like these characters and see that they are all distinct people with their own personalities.
Which is another thing that, I mean, I love all of these parallels where how the clone troopers are more distinct individuals than the stormtroopers who actually are different people.
Yes.
And that's just such a cool thing.
And I love it, except for the fact that the Jedis were just throwing them like they were expendable. And I'm like, those are people!
That's why you're like, are the Jedi really
Are the Jedi good?
that good? There needs to be a medium in there, which in Star Wars Rebels, they've introduced a Bendu. Mm-hmm. Bendu?
Yes.
Is that?
I believe so.
I'm gonna call him that. Which is this in between, limbo of the light and the dark side. Mm. So, the more they bring that sort of stuff in,
the more I like it.
The more excited I am, especially for the sequel trilogy, which, for me, I'm like, the sequel trilogy has to be about that.
Bring back the Grey Jedi. You wrote them out of canon, bring them back.
Even in the Force Awakens novelization, there's an opening poem, and it's all about finding, the gray between the light and the dark. And I'm like, all right, guys.
Yes.
This better be it. This is what I want so badly.
And that's what Qui-Gon was, right? He was a Grey Jedi.
Yes. Yeah.
Did they write it out?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's even, canon anymore, but, Ahsoka's kind of in that line.
Yep.
I mean, that's why Qui-Gon was never on council, because
they were like, we can't really trust him.
He was too much of a rogue.
Too much of a wild card, Qui-Gon. He looks like he's seen some shit.
He's like the first Jesus and passed down the Jesus hair to Obi-Wan, and then Anakin was starting to grow it out, and
then he was like, forget it.
Burned in a fire.
Forget it, I'll never grow hair again.
I'll just be bald forever. This is totally okay. But we get to see this really cool transformation of Anakin. I'm a sucker for that kind of story. Also, you care slightly more about Vader, which is why I'm a huge advocate of watching the movies in this order: 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6. Because that makes you care at all about Anakin.
Right.
I don't care if you hate the prequels, you hate the prequels. I think it's a little bit biased because you love the originals so much. But if you watch them again, and I'm just waiting for the unsubscribe button from everybody. George Lucas, I think he had a plan. It just didn't read well.
No, it doesn't read well. But I agree with you.
He very much wanted the same sort of level of cheesiness.
The same tone.
The same tone, the same sort of dialogue, which is very acceptable in delivery for the 70s, because that's how all 70s acting was. It was a little bit cheesy, a little bit Western, and you're seeing the quality difference. You don't see the acting flaws and the cheesiness
Because you're like, it's
as
the 70s.
much because it's the 70s.
You excuse it.
Yes.
In
But
the
when
2000s,
it's made in the 2000s,
you're like, what is wrong with those people?
can they really not act it
Can
all?
none of these guys act except for Ewan McGregor?
I know. And actually, like, Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman have both come out, and they're good actors now.
Yeah.
And they've both said multiple times that, like, George Lucas would instruct them to be a little more cheesy with their delivery.
And make them, like, redo lines.
Because, again, these are space westerns. Westerns are unbelievably cheesy.
It's supposed to
campy.
be cheesy and campy, because I can see where he's coming from in thinking that the prequels were supposed to come first.
Yeah, if everyone talks like that in the originals.
Yeah, so they would still talk like that. But, unfortunately, you're like, it doesn't work that way. This is the 2000s. No one's going to give you the same excuses as they did in the 70s.
Exactly.
Because even if it makes sense, like, I can understand where he's coming from. It's just not good.
No.
It's just someone should have been like, George, I know this is your creation, but audiences aren't going to receive it well.
No.
They're not going to understand. Because they're not watching it first.
Mm-mm.
They've already seen the trilogy. Even if they're like a little kid, they've probably still seen the trilogy first. Because their parents probably made them, or like, before you go see that, you have to go see, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They probably have already seen the original trilogy first. I think everybody probably went into the prequels at least seeing one of the original trilogy first. Or knowing the spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Anakin is like...
Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Like, side rant, but because my siblings have never seen any of the other Star Wars movies.
Oh my god.
Trust me. Like, and they saw Force Awakens, and they loved it. And now for, like, 2 days, and it was the best 2 days of my life. Like, my siblings are significantly younger than me, and so I went over there, and, like, they wanted me to do their hair, like Rey's hair, and it was the best 2 days of my life. And so I'm thinking, I went over there, like, again over the summer, thinking that maybe they still like Star Wars, and
Nope.
They didn't even remember. They didn't remember, like, who I was talking about. I, like, said Kylo Ren, and they're like, who?
The
bad guy.
The guy with the mask.
And they're like, you mean Dark Vader? And I'm like, oh god.
Oh,
like, I'm like, have you even seen the originals? And they're like, no, but I know.
Right. It's just like how I knew a bunch about Star Wars just from, like, media growing up.
Yeah.
Like, I
and
definitely...
it's a huge part of culture.
I think growing up, the only one that I saw in theaters was Clone Wars.
Attack of the Clones?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, Attack of the Clones. I think that was the only one that I saw in theater.
Yeah.
And that might be a big part of why I didn't like Star Wars for a long time.
You were like, I give up.
I was like, Star Wars
That's a
is
bad one. That's a bad one to start off on.
And then when people are like, do you like Star Wars? And I was like, I like Padme and C-3PO, the end.
There you go. Padme is, she's pretty, and...
And, like, she does, like, fight in those movies.
Oh, yeah, she does... Like, I don't think she's a bad character. There's a lot of people who
She's just lacking.
Her role in Revenge of the Sith got cut out, and she is basically... I mean, she's... Well,
we see everything from Anakin's perspective.
Exactly.
In those movies. It's definitely Anakin narrative. So, yes, she does seem...
Or even Obi-Wan's narrative.
Yeah, true. Because all of the scenes where she's alone are pretty much cut.
And when people are mad at her for not doing a lot in Revenge of the Sith, she is very pregnant in the entirety of Revenge of the Sith.
She has twins.
She is very pregnant with twins, and people will be like, well, not at the beginning of the movie. Let me tell you something I learned in the passing months. Revenge of the Sith takes place over 3 days.
So yes, she is definitely very pregnant.
She is the same amount of pregnant for those 3 days. I find that a little, I feel like it should have been taken over a more amount of time.
At least a couple months, but you know what?
I like, when I still rewatch it, I'm like, oh, a few months have gone by.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Especially when Padme first comes in, she doesn't look that pregnant. She is trying to hide it, so she's wearing bigger clothes.
Right.
But they're like, no, she was wearing the same pregnancy belly the entire time.
Oh my god.
Which, again, doesn't make sense to me, because Anakin, like, runs in, and Padme's like, oh, we're pregnant, and he's like, oh, really? And she's like, super pregnant.
Yeah. She's like, yeah!
Like,
it's
8.5 months.
It's been 8.5 months and you haven't noticed.
So,
Guess you were real busy with the Clone Wars.
Yeah, there are some errors in that, but yeah,
Some
Revenge of the Sith,
discrepancies.
3 days, she's super pregnant. Obviously, she's not going to be doing a whole lot of
Right.
fighting. This movie is, again, the Attack of the Clones was more about Anakin and Padme falling in love. This one's more about Obi-Wan and Anakin, like,
falling apart.
It's just a very sad time for them.
It's the most heartbreaking.
Yeah. But they come together, and the prequels, to me, are on a similar par.
Considering that the original trilogy, I think, was written on a cocaine and Doritos fueled adventure. That's just, I'm like, you guys, they had fun. They wrote their story, they had fun, and they weren't super worrying about, like, their own canon or their own timelines or their own, like, making sure things didn't, like, have discrepancies. They were just like, let's just have fun. We made a whole bunch of movies, and we made a movie, we made a whole bunch of money, let's make more movies, and let's continue the story, and what if plot twist? I know that Leia and Luke just made out, but what if they were related? And then I have another idea. What if Darth Vader's their father?
I believe that.
You think that was started from the beginning?
I do believe that one.
Okay.
The Leia, not so much, but only because of the way Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, they say Luke's being like, I want to go be a Jedi, or I wish I had known my father, and they, like, look at each other, and they're like, they seem to know that something not good has happened.
I'll agree.
I believe that one.
I'll give them a little bit. Okay. That's fine.
And
Luke
also
and Leia,
that Darth Vader literally means father in Dutch. So I'll believe that one.
Okay.
But I mean, to be fair, I actually learned this very recently too. There was always plans for Luke to have a sister, but it was not Leia.
Yeah.
They were going to bring in another person who would end up being Luke's sister, but then later they're like, let's just
make it Leia.
Let's just make it Leia.
We can't introduce another woman into the universe. It'll get confusing.
That's true, but I like Leia being...
Oh, no. I like it now, for sure, because now that we have, like, a full story, and that we're moving forward into the new movies, like, I do like it. Yeah. I do. But I'm like, you were not planning that. Don't you lie to me. You had no idea.
No, you just had... Because he was, like, pitching, because he's... I mean, he has always said that he had plans for 9 movies. Like... There was going to be a prequel and then a sequel. Okay. But in the sequel trilogy is when we were going to find out Luke had a sister. And our Luke's sister came in. And then later he was just like, dude, there's... How about I just stop this love triangle? Yes. And just make Leia his sister. Because I like that more, personally.
No, I like it. I love Luke and Leia being related.
Space twins.
I do. Mm-hmm. I wish Vader had then cared a little bit more about Leia afterwards, when he's like, I'm redeemed. He wasn't like, tell your sister I'm an asshole and I'm sorry for almost killing her. He was just like, you were right. Tell your sister you were right.
I had light inside me the whole time.
# classic Anakin not
Leia
taking responsibilities. Leia just has like this
force feeling, being like, someone was just a douche.
I need to throw up. Feel like I'm gonna throw up.
God, it's so horrible. But,
So again, just as bad as the prequels. in different ways. Yeah. They both definitely have their flaws. And if you cannot recognize that the original trilogy has flaws, you are a lost cause.
Like, no, they're absolutely perfect. Everything was planned majorly ahead of time. And, like, these are fun, unbelievably fun space westerns.
Yes.
That's why people love them. That's why I love them. I have a very good time watching them. Are they flawless movies? I'm like, no, of course not. Barely anything is, in my opinion. Yeah.
But growing up, hearing so much about Star Wars and how good Star Wars was, and then I watched them and I'm like, people build up this pedestal, put them up on this pedestal, just like Anakin does with Padme, and then I'm like, they're not that good.
See, like, I did watch them as a kid.
As like a fresh mind?
Yeah.
But
so
like, if people...
I had a good time with them when I was a kid, but if you don't watch them until later and you've only been seeing them
as long as I'm allowed to, like, watch them and be like, these have flaws, and not be condemned for it, then I'm okay with the original trilogy. But when people are like, how dare you? I'm like, well, you're wrong, and I can't trust anything you have to say, because you can't recognize that your favorite thing has flaws. I recognize that my favorite things have flaws all the time. One of my favorite anime, I'm like, people are like, what's your favorite anime? And I tell them, and I'm like, but it's not super good. It's just my favorite. I just super love it.
That's a good point. Like, just because something is your favorite doesn't mean you know it's the best.
Right.
That's why all of these people have different opinions.
Yeah.
Because if we all had the same exact opinion on what is the best or what is good, everything would be exactly the same. Which is why I get really mad at fandom sometimes. Hello, quote-unquote fandom.
Right.
For if anyone has a different opinion of you, you're just like, oh, you must be Satan.
Yeah.
Because you disagree. Because you like something else.
Right.
We're all not the exact same person.
You and me don't have even the same favorite characters in Star Wars. I mean, we both do love Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh yeah, Obi-Wan
forever.
Obi-Wans are both of our favorite characters.
Yes. But like, for example, and like, you love Han Solo, and I'm like, I don't.
I do love Han.
I don't want him to be written out of the movies. But I'm like, I don't like him.
I'm like, well, he was. So.
I mean, like, I wouldn't go back retroactively and, like, erase him from the movies. I'm like, no, he has his place. And his place is a fine place. I just don't like him.
I don't like him.
You're allowed.
And then
we're allowed to have different opinions.
My precious Krylo. That, fingers crossed,
hopefully he gets redeemed.
Stares blankly into camera that's not there.
And, like, I've started to, like, love Padme more and more. Again, that's because I am extrapolating on the universe and, like, diving inside her head. And I'm like, these are the things that I think Padme must have been going through and thinking and doing when we didn't see her. And I'm like, I like those. Mm-hmm. Does it make Padme a fantastic character? No. She never had the chance, in my opinion. But, like, But
she had wonderful fashion sense.
Well, absolutely. Padme's outfits are the best in the entire movies.
They're gorgeous.
She had the best. George Lucas was like, hey, I have a lot of money. Make Padme look amazing in every shot. Good.
I'm like, you don't know how much money I have.
They're like, can we put lanterns in her dress? He's like, do you know who I am? I have so much money. Do whatever you want.
I'm like, I have so much money that, like, Steven Spielberg makes money off of my movies, and he's stupidly rich.
Do you know how much money I just donate to charity?
I mean, I think it was something like he donated, like, 90% of his, like, Disney, like, money. And then I think donated, like, the rest of it to Lucasfilm to make sure no one lost their jobs. Like...
There you go.
He was just like... Or that was one of his deals when he signed over to Disney. He's like, I want to make sure that you guys are making enough content so no one loses their job. Like, George Lucas is, like, a good guy.
He is.
Which, when people shit on him...
No, he's a great guy. He's not a very good director.
And he's not a great writer.
But he's an amazing man.
And I think he is a good world builder and a good character establisher. Because I like all of his characters, for sure. Are they the best written? No. But...
Do they sometimes get shafted? Absolutely.
But I think Star Wars is more about the characters anyway. And I love young Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like Anakin, and especially after watching Clone Wars, I do.
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars Anakin is a character on his own, so I love Clone Wars Anakin.
Everyone is better than they are in the movies.
That's true.
Because they just have more time.
Way more time. And...
Who would have guessed that when you give characters more time to develop, they become better characters? Like...
Mind blown.
Boom. But, like, I don't know.
But I don't know, the Star Wars Christmas special, animated, Han, Luke, and Leia.
Oh, God.
Great.
Oh, God.
A+.
Oh, God.
The
Don't even.
Looking people. But, like, again, the prequels, I cried twice in Star Wars. I've talked about this a lot, too. And one of them is in Phantom Menace, because I don't handle kids having to leave their parents.
Seriously.
I did not cry when Anakin killed the Sand People.
No.
Another reason why I'm like, you can, quote-unquote, let Kylo be redeemed, because Anakin slaughtered an entire village of people.
Yep.
These are people. These are indigenous people to Tatooine.
Yeah.
And the Jedi Order was like, we'll let it slide. It's okay. Just don't do it again. Oh. You let fear and anger take over. And he's like, I killed an entire village.
Yep.
Men, women, children.
Yep.
Just slaughtered all of them.
But it didn't matter.
But
they weren't people.
But they don't look like people, so... Like, those are the indigenous, like, Tatooine people.
Yeah.
And...
They were like, yeah, they might be, but they're all we all hate them, so it's okay.
So it's fine.
You're like, what?
But
What?
like, if Anakin can still be considered a good guy for a movie and a half after that, and an entire animated series,
Right.
like we can do the Kylo redemption arc, and obviously we'll have a whole podcast where I talk about that because I could talk about that for
Forever. For 5 podcasts.
for 5 podcasts, and it would be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, there's anything else you want to add?
Just I think people just need to open up their eyes and their minds and their hearts.
I
And
do too.
And try watching it in the order that you said.
Yeah.
Because then you'll actually see the tone progress, and you'll be like, oh, well, if I forget that this one was made in the 2000s, these do fit, like, right in.
And if you really hate Phantom Menace, you can skip over Phantom Menace. But
I mean, Darth Maul's in it. Just watch it.
yeah, I watch it. Again, I like Phantom Menace, but I'm the only one.
It's definitely not the worst.
No.
Attack of the Clones,
For
absolutely
me, Attack of the Clones is so far the worst.
yes.
But
I don't hate Phantom Menace. I still look at that kid and I'm like, that's not Anakin. But, I mean, he's not even a bad child actor.
he's just a child actor.
Yeah.
Because people, like, this poor kid, his life was, like, ruined because people were like, you were horrible. Like, he's a kid actor. Barely any kid actors are good.
And he's not a bad child actor.
No. He was a 9-year-old kid.
Yeah. His dialogue was too intelligent for a 9-year-old
Yeah.
sometimes, and you're like, that's very unbelievable coming out of your mouth. You're saying, like...
George Lucas writes tongue twisters all the time.
Yeah, and you're like, you are a 9-year-old, and you just said, like, 5 paragraphs. You're like, what? Like, 5 paragraphs of pure information.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, like, a kid rambling. It was like, I am an adult in a child's body, and these are the things, and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh my, what? This is not believable. But that's not the actor's fault. That's the director's fault.
Yeah.
That's the scriptwriter's fault.
That's what I call pod racing.
Ha ha.
Are you an angel?
Like, that's a kid line. That's a
I know,
line that's believable.
Because a lot of people think that line is so cringeworthy. I'm like, no, that line is very realistic to me.
And that
As
line...
a little kid who just sees, like, this super pretty girl,
Uh-huh.
and he's just heard that there's these super pretty things called angels that the pilots talk about, and I'm like, that's not as cringeworthy of a line as
not.
everyone says it is. The sand line, yes, that is cringeworthy.
Yes.
But
the angel line, and then that goes very far to establish how Anakin views her for the rest of his life.
Yep.
He's like, she's my angel. She saved me.
Yep.
She came here with these other guys, and they saved me. And
And now I'm starting to think George Lucas did have this planned, and he purposely wrote a pretty, like, infatuated relationship that isn't supposed to be necessarily on the healthy. I mean, obviously, it's...
I hope so.
It's not.
on purpose.
Anakin kills Padme.
Oh yeah,
He
kills her.
He does. His actions 100% killer, and I'll talk about this just because we have some time, but then
Yeah.
we should probably wrap up. But people will be like, Padme died of a broken heart, and people think that's so dumb, but I'm like, do you realize the point is that it's supposed to be Anakin's actions directly killed her. It wasn't something he did, or like, it could have been like he obviously force choked her and knocked her out when she was pregnant, very pregnant with their children.
And her body was very much in the sensitive state.
Yeah. But I'm like, Anakin, like, again, we create the villains that we think we see, but we also create, like, certain situations by trying to avoid them.
Yeah.
Like, he spent the whole movie trying to avoid. This whole thing is caused by him not wanting Padme to die, and he was the one who was going to kill her.
Yep.
And again, I also abide by the theory is that Palpatine has the ability to create life. Anakin would have died on Mustafar, and that Palpatine, with his ability to create life, but unfortunately the ability to create life involves taking the life of another, So he kind of took Padme's life
The
and gave
law of equal and equivalent exchange.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. Definitely takes Padme's life force, puts it in
Anakin.
puts it in our new Vader.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to subscribe to that theory. Because there's no way Padme just died of a broken heart.
Especially when she just had, like...
She just had kids.
She has something to live for.
Either she had the worst postpartum depression I've ever seen.
Just an immediate sudden...
Immediately afterwards. Or there had to have been more going on.
Yeah.
Like...
That's why, again, I subscribe to the theory that...
Yes.
Palpatine, he was like, Anakin's gonna die. But, you know what? I can super create Vader if I take Padme away.
It'll be great.
So, kills Padme, or with the Force, has that ability.
Steals her little life and then plops it in Vader, and you're like, that's the most heartbreaking thing I've ever seen.
Makes sense of it. Anakin 100% killed Padme.
Yeah.
This is all his fault.
Absolutely.
And there you go. And then you'll find your son.
And then he never takes responsibility for that.
No.
But, it's fine.
They dealt with it.
Kind of.
Ish. But yeah.
Hopefully they'll touch on that in The Force Awakens. I hope Luke will just have a conversation with Kylo and been like, do you realize what Vader did? Do you realize that he killed his own wife to become what he did? Like, and that was the thing he feared most?
Yeah, the thing he feared most was losing Padme, and the dark side, the all-consuming dark side,
killed his wife.
And
then...
he joined the dark side to save her, quote-unquote, in the beginning.
And that's what killed her.
So...
You're like...
Just think about it, kid.
I really hope they do. Just mention it briefly. Even if Luke says it to Rey when she's struggling with the dark side or something. Just somewhere in there. Please just mention it. Because when people are like, Vader's so cool, I'm like, he's the most tragic...
He's a very tragic villain.
The most tragic villain I've ever seen.
And another, like, George Lucas quote, and he was like, in the prequel trilogies, you learn that, and I mean, you learn it in the sequel, or the original trilogies, too, that the person you thought was actually the villain was the victim the whole time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously Anakin has his faults and has things that are his fault.
Yes.
But he's also, he was a victim as well.
Yes, absolutely.
He was being controlled, taken advantage of, manipulated.
Yes, absolutely.
And, became a monster and just lived life as a slave forever.
His entire life, even though it's all he wanted to do was escape that life.
It was to be free, and it's like, oh, I'm a Jedi. Oh crap, I'm kind of a
slave.
Slave here too.
I kind of never really get to do what I want to do. I never get to say what I want to say.
This like war.
I'm not allowed to love.
Slave.
Yeah.
And then you are literally Palpatine's
slave
for the rest of your life.
Yep. And then you die.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time you're free.
And I like Anakin's. At face value, I like this story as a full. As like in full. And what the prequels give, I like the story, I like the characters. Are they executed the best to their potential? No. But when you take the face value of the story and you think deeply into it, that you're watching the war technically, even though Palpatine's on both sides of the war, but you're kind of watching the war from the wrong side. And if I understand the politics differently, or correctly, I should say, Leia, like, her current political stance would have been the side of the Separatists.
Mm-hmm. Is direct opposition to her mother.
Yeah, which is...
And the quote-unquote good guys.
Yeah, which, I mean, obviously, I think... Because, I mean, Bale was on the same side, but then I think after he realized what the Republic had become, he was like... we need to... Okay, maybe...
Switch.
We need to switch. This didn't work out. So, it's a very interesting parallel how things change, and there's not one right side. Each side, if there's too much power given to one side...
It can easily become corrupt.
It's going to become corrupt. That's why we need to find the divine middle.
This middle ground.
Right? Colin and
Grays.
Ryan. Right? Listen to this.
Right?
Yep. But, yeah, so
the prequels, they're not that bad.
Nope, they're not that bad. And,
please stop shitting on them.
Let us have merchandise for them.
Please, God.
Funko, I know you listen to.
Dear
give us
God.
Obi-Wan and Anakin pop figures. Lord.
Give us a nice little Padme. I know you made Queen Amidala, but...
Well, Amidala goes for like $1 million one now.
Right,
But
but
we found that one for not so bad.
not so bad, which I'm probably going to buy next time we go.
Yeah.
But, like, just a nice little Padme pop. She's got a bunch of outfits. Her wedding outfit? Hell, give me her funeral outfit. Just make a dead Padme pop. That's fine.
Little X's.
It'll be the saddest thing I've ever seen, but, you know.
It's gorgeous.
She has 1,000,000 outfits, and you can make 1,000,000 different pop figures of her.
Yep. And people would buy it, I promise.
Yep. They bought Queen Amidala.
There are plenty of people who like the prequels. They're just the people who are squeaky wheels.
The people who like it, we're just not out there screaming about it.
Yeah.
Because we're like, what?
Like,
Why do you hate them so much?
Why are they making you that angry? This is the story. Take the story for what it's worth. It's not a bad story.
It's not.
And
I'm sorry that
if you actually think about it, it's not a bad story.
No. And I'm sorry that Vader isn't this ultimate evil that you thought he was, but you should have known that by the end of the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
people who just want plain
why would you want
villains?
You have Palpatine.
Again, my podcast about Kylo will come up. It'll be fine.
Palpatine is the bad guy.
Yep.
Like, I'm frustrated. I hate it. All right,
we need to do Bunk, Marry, Kill really quick.
Bunk, Marry, Kill.
We've already done Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, we have. Who else is in the original trilogy?
Yoda.
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon. Okay.
Darth Maul.
All right. I know, but I can kill him.
Windu.
All right.
Ooh, this is hard.
Marry
Qui-Gon.
Yeah, marry Qui-Gon, kill Maul, and then you know what? I'll try Mace Windu.
You know what? I'm gonna bonk Mace. I'm gonna bonk Darth Maul, and then I'm gonna kill Windu.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because I mean, if I kill Mace, I just know he's gonna come back.
That's okay.
And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But maybe he can't have sex because there's nothing downstairs. That's important.
Oh.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to explore that.
I'll bunk Darth Maul.
There you go.
His design is cool.
Yeah. It's a cool design.
And they're all about passion.
Yep.
And I'd be like,
it might be a good time.
This might be a great time.
You know what?
He might try to kill me
don't
afterwards.
change my mind. But thank you guys so much for listening. We'll do, actually, if you want to win a Loot Anime this month, please comment down below and say what your favorite prequel movie is.
Yeah, do it.
And
Sucker.
you do have to be in America to win. I apologize. And you have to be comfortable with giving us your address.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much
For listening.
for listening. I am Courtney.
I am Silver Grayson.
And we will see you next time.